Hey, it's Crane. Brief show wrap up tonight, the after Crane, if you will. Talked a lot about race in the first hour. Now, why? Why are we talking about race? Because this is what the focus will be and has been when it comes to the policies of the Obama administration. You see, as we get closer to 2014, the left is going to do everything it can to not address the failure of the Affordable Care Act. They're going to do it by saying, look at the real story of, look at the story of divisions within the Republican Party about how they want to get rid of Obamacare, rather than the desire and the majority of Americans who do not support Obamacare. In fact, majority of Americans who were never in favor of Obamacare. So when people disagree on how to get rid of it, that's a story I can understand to a degree. But if you tell the truth, you focus in on this being the signature piece of legislation for the current president, and it's been an utter disaster with their own admission by the fact that they are selectively enforcing it, exempting Congress. This is, to me, if they can do anything they can to not talk about their policies and their behavior and being held accountable for that. I'm speaking to IRS, I'm speaking to Benghazi, I'm speaking to the DOJ. They are going to do it. And the most effective, as they found out during the Trayvon Martin case, is race. Because it can never, as I demonstrated tonight through a series of clips citing, they can never ever really say, okay, we've gotten to the point where this has been solved. Because there will always be racism, unfortunately. We can do our best becoming equal under the law and living up to our declaration. And that has taken some time in America, but with context, please. Understanding just how great America is, and how when we get to a point where we're equal under the law, the idea of people claiming the civil rights legacy and saying, yes, equal under the law, but they've become part of the grievance victim industry, which is a racket. Well, it's a bastardization, quite frankly, of the civil rights movement and what it was about, which is not being judged by by the color of one's skin, but the content of one's character, judging on your merits, and not making excuses. Because in a way, if you're making excuses, then you really do feel that someone else needs that excuse. They can't be held accountable to the same standard, and that is what George W. Bush called soft bigotry, of lower expectations. The soft bigotry of lower expectations. So we spent a lot of time on that because I want to get it out there, and I don't want to be sitting there talking about a rodeo where they're going and mocking the president and saying, wow, that's a real reflection of how people feel about President Obama because of the color of his skin. No. As they did it in rather distastefully ways in the case of the rodeo, as well as what they did to George W. Bush for 8 years, that was distasteful as well. But bottom line, don't make it about race. The elephant in the room is the failure of the Obama administration in their policies. Foreign policy, they supported the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, a terrorist organization. I mean, Russia reset, you can do whatever. I mean, the policies of, I hope you like us, and yeah, we're really not going to be too principled. We're not going to really let people know where we stand. We're not going to give our allies certainty. We'll bail on missile shields. And, well, if you behave badly toward us, you know what? We'll reward you with a reset. And, hey, if you are not living up to your commitments in the past, we're going to push Israel to make a deal with you, even as you attempt to destroy them. So, bottom line, I just mentioned briefly foreign policy, economic, half the growth that was projected, real unemployment really at 14%, and a stimulus that failed. And now they want more. A healthcare plan that has failed. And it's not like people like me haven't been saying this is not going to work, this is not going to work. But now that we have the record, it's amazing because the record is caught up to the promise. And the promise turns out to be undelivered. So what must you do? Well, we've got one thing left. We got race left. And if we can do that, hey, it's a racism and racism life. And we'll really put a focus there as much as possible. Well, as I did tonight, I showed you what real racism is and the consequence of using the charge of racism and the impact it has on people who are not defined by the color of their skin, not by their race, not by the hyphenization of American, but by the American people. And that's really what we should be, period. So if you have an immigration plan, you can't sell on its merits, it's got to be racism. If you have a healthcare policy that's not moving forward and it's not getting support in Congress because it's been failing, and it's got to be because you don't like President Obama because he's black. That's it. And so we spent a lot of time on that tonight. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it in the future, but I encourage you to check out the show, especially the last segment, because we go back in time with Bill Clinton and Pete Domenici talking about Domenici speaking to $200 billion plus deficits every year as far as the eye can see, and being outraged and what that would do to our children. President Clinton, in response to the Republican budget at the time, said these cuts, children, throw granny off the cliff pretty much. That's what it was. It was cuts in the rate of growth and spending, by the way. I mean, it's just, again, the thing doesn't change, so why not get ahead of it? And as I said tonight, for conservatives to stand by their principles, stand up and be counted and make the case, and do not accept the false narrative. Challenge it and get together and challenge it. That's really true compassion. You know what conservatism is? It's conservatism. And there's a place for us, especially as Christians, in that. And not making the bargain, the Faustian bargain, in fact, with government, that they will take care of the safety net. No, we will. We do it better, and we do it more efficiently. And we can do it at a lower cost. Plus, when you do it, you expand your power, take away our liberties, and in essence, create a society of dependence. And in that, you zap the energy that goes toward innovation of people using their God-given gifts. That's the truth. That's not too compassionate, but that's the truth. And loving is not lying. So let's get up and tell the truth. All right, great to be with you. Tell me what you think. Agree, disagree. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth on AFR Talk. Check out the website, nothingbuttruth.com. Be part of Crane's jury. That's going to be heating up in the coming weeks, as well as the articles, etc. Check it out, nothingbuttruth.com. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart. Remember, always keep the faith. Remember, God loves you. He knows you. He created you. You're unique, and you're worth it. Thank you very much for being with us.